Since the new expedition update came live, people have been struggling to figure out what their main goal was and how to properly farm blueprints, credits, and red salt. And in this video, I'm going to clarify some of those questions for you guys and make it easier for you to get there. And so to do that, let's talk a little bit about the new expedition. I just read a feedback post where someone said they went and played expedition for over an hour and only came out with 6 blueprints. And to me, I have no idea how that's possible. To even walk out with 6 blueprints, you had to completely purposely avoid either the main goal or every single sector boss or every single dungeon you came across. So I figure some people are not quite understanding how to get these currencies going, so I'm going to show it to you here, starting off with blueprints. For blueprints, there are 5 main sources of achieving that. You've got sector bosses, you've got the main goal, you've got contracts, you've got dungeons, and stash rewards. So as far as sector bosses go, the first boss on sector level 1 gives you 3 blueprints, the second boss on second threat level gives you 5 blueprints, the third boss on sector level 3 gives you 8 blueprints, and the fourth boss on sector level 4 gives you 12 blueprints. So if you just complete the bosses themselves, you walk out with 28 blueprints. Now the main goal, as you already know, gives you 4 blueprints, so that's a total of 32. Now if you complete the bosses and the goal, and if you do every single contract, that's 4 more, so you're already up to 36. Then you've got the dungeon, which also drop blueprints. The dungeon level 5 gives 14 and the dungeon level 6 gives 20, and on top of that you've got hidden stashes that can give you single blueprints, and although I don't really think they're great rewards, they put up a little bit of blueprints and can help you maximize your blueprint gain. So put it simply, if you complete the sector bosses and the main goal, you're easily walking out with pretty much near capped blueprints of around 50. And if you add the dungeon on top of that and the hidden stashes, then you're well over the 50 cap. So now that we've set the base for blueprints, then let's now talk about credits. As far as sector level bosses go again, the first boss gives you 200 credits, the second boss gives you 400 credits, the third boss 800, and the fourth boss gives you 1200 credits. So just by killing the sector bosses, you walk out with 2,600 credits. Now, dungeon level 5 gives you 1,400 and dungeon level 6 gives you 2,000. So if you did all the sector bosses, plus let's say a dungeon level 6, then you're already up to 4,600, which is almost the cap. But here's the thing, most of the credits you get actually come from stashes and things like that you constantly find around the map. For example, stashes, they can give 50, 100, 200, or even 500 credits in a stash you can find around the map. The credit cap is much easier to hit than the blueprint cap. All you have to do is follow a certain pattern, which I'm going to go over here at the end of the video to clarify. And as you know, the third currency is red salt. Red salt you find in every activity, as well as of course the red salt deposits. Every activity gives you at least about 50 red salt for doing those, so every time you're running a bit low and you're good on time, you want to squeeze this in so you can maximize red salt as much as possible. Now what about season XP? As you may or may not know, you can convert extra red salt into season XP by extracting with those. So how can you maximize that? So I've come to find recently that there is actually a limit as to how much season XP you can extract with, and that exact number is of 5,170. Shout out to Turs for sending me this number. I'm forgetting your actual name right now, but thank you nonetheless for this information. So the cap is 5,170. But here's the thing, you should already know if you watched my latest video on season XP that expedition gives you a base XP of 550 and you get a little bit extra for how many points you get, so usually you'll find yourself getting a base amount or an average amount of about 600 XP. And according to my calculations, now this calculation may be a little bit off, each red salt that you extract converts into 4 season XP. So if you make an average XP amount of 600, what's left for you to hit the cap is a total of 4,570. Meaning, for you to extract with max season XP, you'd have to extract with at least 1,142 red salt to maximize season XP. Now, many times you won't be able to extract with that much, but do know that that will be your limit as to how much you should extract with. But always know that you'll gain roughly about 4 times times the amount of red salt you have into XP. So if you extract with only, let's say 100, then you can expect to gain 400 XP for that on top of the 550, and you'll easily walk out with near 1,000 or more season XP in a run. So okay, you want to maximize your currency in a run, so what should you do? What you should do every time you get into an expedition right away is upon landing, you go straight for a mule communicator, you get the main goal and your contract in that sector level 1. You'll always want to clear the sector level boss and do the contract and start working towards your main goal. Now you'll want to occasionally call down a supply drop so that you're topped off on perks as well as doing activities as much as you can, as long as it doesn't waste too much time. I also recommend decontaminating in the first sector as soon as your contamination hits level 1, because it is the cheapest sector to do so. After doing that, I would recommend going to sector level 2, not 3 or 4. Even though you might be a good player and can handle them, the truth is there is no benefits in doing so. So go to sector level 2, get the contract, do the contract, go to the sector boss and kill him. And if there is a dungeon, you should always do the dungeon, of course. And once again, you do activities when you need red salt or supply drop, and you should always decontaminate as the contamination is getting higher to always keep it low, and you rinse and repeat that. Go to sector level 3, do contracts, bosses, dungeons if there is a dungeon, small activities if you need red salt or supply drop, if you need perks, decontaminate if you need to decrease your contamination, and that's it. You go to sector level 4 and you do the same thing. And by the time you've done all of these things, you'll be walking out with 5,000 credits and hundreds of red salt and near capped blueprints. Now if you want to extract with maximum capped season XP, then you'll have to continue farming red salt until you've hit that 1,142 red salt cap. But I would only recommend farming red salt after you've completed everything and you've got a little bit of extra time before you're forced to extract. I found myself completing the entire expedition and only being at about contamination level 3 or 4, which usually gives me plenty of time for gathering red salt. So yeah, that's the simplest way in my opinion to see this new expedition, and that's how you should do it. So you might think, okay, but Raptac, I usually play solo and my teammates never know where to go, so here's what I recommend for you. When I play solo, I try to lead the pack. I mark the things that I want to go for and I usually go for it, and they tend to follow. But sadly, occasionally you'll have teammates that don't listen and they want to go off and do something else. And here's the truth, there's not too much you can do about that. The reason being, the new expedition is more or less an open world, so people will often have different objectives. Some people just want to go around and explore the world. They don't really care too much about currency or how much they walk out with, whether they get blueprints, credits, or season XP. A lot of people just don't really care too much about that. But here's the thing, I know a lot of you, including myself, sometimes play expedition just for the currency. And if your goal is to maximize the currency you gain in an expedition, then let me recommend something for you. Use the official Discord and look for a group to play with. You can't expect to force casual players that are just having fun in expedition to play by your standards. Sometimes people aren't there to get the currency and go as fast as humanly possible just to complete the expedition. A lot of the times they're there to explore and enjoy the game as it is, and they're not really in a rush to get to anywhere. So if you want to play with people that are like-minded, then you'll have to go and search for like-minded people. That's just the truth. That's how it always works with matchmaking, and this happens for any game. And yeah, that'll be all for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.